Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Benefits Trust Summer Zoomcast series. We're going to do this three times throughout the summer. This is the first time. So on behalf of all of us at the Benefits Trust, we want to take this opportunity to welcome you. Joining us today from the Benefits Trust, we've got Mike Ignatz in the house. We've also got Jordan Bulholz. Where's Jordan? I can't see him for a second. Oh, there he is. There he is on my screen. There's Jordan
I'm here.
and,
Hello.
and Rob Crowder. Now, Jordan, share with us what you did on Saturday. This is pretty exciting. I want you to share with everybody what you did.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So Saturday, this past Saturday, I was up in Ottawa playing the Ottawa Blues Fest with the band. So we got a spot there and found out about it back in February, and it's already done and happened. So I don't know what time is anymore, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Good packed audience, and happy
Good
to have done
gig. Congratulations. I hope that is the
it.
first of many of these festivals you play on weekends, not during the week. Okay. Anyways.
Noted.
And Rob Crowder, my son, is here as well. We've got a couple of other employees that normally come on this call, but they're tied up with client meetings. So welcome everybody. If you've got your camera on, thank you very much. If you don't have your camera on, we'd love for you to have your camera on. And shows us that you're actually alive and here and not actually just here for CE credits, because these Zoomcasts were set up a number of years ago, and the idea was everybody in the room gets smarter. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. And that's really what we want to do. Is in the insurance industry, we share information and we share it as much as we can. And again, it's about being in the room where everybody gets smarter, and we want you to participate as much as possible. So we want to take this opportunity to mention as well at the end, Mike Ignatz is going to be sending out a CE credit for everybody participating today, which is awesome. Mike's going to send that out very shortly. In addition to that, you're going to be signed up for our Trusted Advisor newsletter. I think we're 132 months in a row with our newsletter. You're going to get that if you don't get it already. And as well as that, we're going to give you a really short survey to tell us how we did today, how we can do it tomorrow. It takes less than 2 minutes to fill out, so please fill it out. And it also gives us an opportunity to hear from you on what subjects you want to see in the future. And this is actually feedback that we've received from you is in all sorts of different ways, but you wanted to see things like questions to ask and what they mean and so on. So this is really feedback from you. So let's get started, and let me share my screen as more and more people are coming on, which is awesome. So this is a fun one. I'm looking forward to this session. And again, this is the first time I've done it. So if you've got any questions as well throughout the session, either put your little emoji hand up, because I can only see a few people on the screen right now. Put your little emoji hand up and we'll get to you, or put it in the chat box so everybody can see. And Rob will answer it, or Mike will answer it, or Jordan will answer it, or they'll ask me. But please put your hand up. We want you to participate. It's about participation as well. So we want to talk about recognizing opportunities in group insurance and the 10 questions you must ask. And again, we want to thank you for taking the time to join us here today. So these questions that we put together will examine and uncover, how to evaluate clients' needs, tailoring benefits for diverse workforce, innovative benefit solutions, maximizing plan efficiency. As well as that, we want to have a time for questions, answers, discussions, etc. So again, we want to make this as interactive as possible. Please put your hand up. It's amazing. We get these surveys back, and we review these surveys in our marketing meetings, and people say, I wish they were more interactive, but they're not being interactive themselves. So please put your hand up and let us know what's on your mind. Little quick commercial here. We are open for business. The Benefits Trust started on January 1st, 1994. We've been in business for over 30 years. We are a full-service third-party benefit administration company, and we are the largest independently owned TPA in Canada. We work with advisors like you. Without a doubt, our target market is working with advisors like you, with clients with 1 to 100 employees. We've got a number of clients that are larger than that, but we really like to work in this space because that is where the majority of business is in Canada. And we provide custom employee benefit solutions. We provide an exceptional client service experience. And as well as that, we've got long-term relationships with a lot of major insurance carriers, all the major insurance carriers and service suppliers. So that's what we do. And we've been in business for over 30 years now. And we are open for business, and we need more business because we've got a lot of people on our payroll that we want to pay. and a lot of clients that we want to continue to innovate for, and we need more clients to help us with that. So we are, as I mentioned, independent. So we're not, controlled by some of these large consolidators. We are completely independent and can do great things for your clients. There's an exciting marketplace out there, without a doubt. Like, I keep on coming back to this, but it blows my mind. It just blows my mind. I was down in Barrie the other day. I had to drive down to Barrie and back from Huntsville, where I live, and I work out of. But just the amount of business, just in Barrie and places in between Barrie and Huntsville, there's 440,000 businesses in Ontario that have less than 100 full-time employees. There's endless prospects, and all of those within an hour or click or drive away. And I know Simon is here. He's from Vancouver, and Simon, oh, you're not on your treadmill today, Simon. What's going on? You did 20,000 steps yesterday, but he's normally on your treadmill. But there's so many businesses in British Columbia as well. But there's so many businesses in Ontario, 440,000 businesses. Even if we take half of those away, there's still 240,000 businesses. There's so much opportunity here in Ontario. So let's put things into perspective. When we're talking to those businesses and other businesses, a benefit plan is nothing more than a promise between an employer and a group of employees. When we put it in the simplest terms, it's just a promise between an employer and employee. I had this situation where this word promise came out. I don't remember how I thought about this or what the story behind it was, but I told this employer, I said, a benefit plan is nothing more than a promise between an employer and employee. And the light went off in this particular individual's head right at that moment, because he realized that he owns the business and he can promise whatever it is that he chooses. He can promise whatever it is that he chooses. It's entirely up to him. And, promise is such a powerful word. If I promise you, Drew, that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, or you're going to, think that I'm not a great person, right? And I'm going to keep that promise that I make to you. If it's, meeting you at 10 o'clock or whatever it is, I'm going to keep that promise. It's a promise that I'm making. If you promise, promise is a vow, it's a commitment, it's all those things. So when you think about a benefit plan, and when we're speaking in plain English to our prospects and our clients, use the word promise. A benefit plan is nothing more than a promise between an employer and an employee. What we do at the Benefits Trust is we keep promises that employers make to employees. It's as simple as that. But in order to help a client with their promise, you need to know where the client is going. And we've been in business for 30 years, as I mentioned, and we're continuing to move forward, continuing to grow, right? But there are different cycles that businesses go through throughout a 30-year period, without a doubt. And then, for the next 30 years, there's going to be other cycles. But you got to ask your client where they're going, and you got to ask these future-based questions. And that's really what we want to talk about today, is these future-based questions that we want to ask, and what we can get from those questions. But why is this important? Why do we need to ask questions? The internet has all the answers. Artificial intelligence has all the answers. You can go on AI or AI and say, design me a benefit plan for my 22 employees, and it'll come up with an answer, right? But it doesn't have the right questions. Without a doubt, the internet has all the answers. It just doesn't have the questions. And often, when you look at the internet for something, it's like drinking water from a fire hydrant. You don't even know where to start. You type in something on Google, and then 46,000 pages come back. And, you start flipping through answers, and you forget what your question was, right? You forget what you were searching because you get caught in this rabbit hole. So I say it's like drinking water from a water fountain. And Rob put these slides together, and I think that's just a great analogy, that one slide there, because sometimes it's overwhelming. So people look at this and they'll go, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, because, they get tied up and it's too overwhelming at one point in time. So I think it's important as advisors, all of us here as advisors and professional advisors, to ask great questions. And we need to ask questions, and we need to do it in simple, plain language. Not, hey, Mr. Client, what's your TLR? Pardon? They polish widgets for a living, right? Are your IBNR reserves full? My favorite was, I was in this meeting and there was a Great West Life rep with me, right? He's no longer there, and sadly, he's no longer with us. But he said this to a client: would you like us to use the GAM83 unisex mortality table to determine your group life rates? And the client looked at him in such a way, like, excuse my language, are you fucking kidding me? Right? It just blew his mind, right? And not in a good way. But I was asking the Great West Life group rep, and again, this was 30 some odd years ago, why he asked that question. And he said, "Oh, I think it's important to ask questions to let them know that you know your stuff. Let them know how smart you are." And I'm going, yeah, I don't think that's the reaction you got, right? But you have to ask questions in plain, simple language. It's not about you being smart. It's about if the client didn't think you were smart or the prospect didn't think you were smart, you wouldn't be in the room. Trust me, you would not be in the room. It's about you saying, asking questions of the client in plain, simple language to help them solve their problems. It's about them. It's not about you. So that's sort of the foundation of why we put this presentation together, the 10 critical questions. And again, these are in no particular order. All right, these are just 10 questions, and I want to share these with you. And again, this comes from feedback we've received from you through the surveys and the past Zoomcasts that we've done, as well as that it comes from 30 plus years or 30 probably 30 1988 that 34 years of experience, coming up on 35 actually in August, experience in asking questions that I've asked for years and years and years. The first question is a question that I learned that's applicable in any situation. I don't care where you are, what you're doing. This is the only situation that I think it may not be applicable in is a funeral, but right. But it's a terrific question, and I got this question from the strategic coach Dan Sullivan. I've been a participant in that program for many, many years, over 30 years actually. But it's quite simple. If we were meeting here 3 years from today, what has to have happened for you to say it's been the best 3 years of your life? And you can ask this question to clients. And I like to ask this question to clients multiple times. Every time I meet with them, I like to ask this question or some rendition of this question. Because again, things change over time. So the question never becomes stale. It never becomes old. And the answers change often frequently. So you ask your clients this question. You ask your prospects this question. If we were meeting here 3 years from today, what has to have happened for you to say it's been the best 3 years of your life? I asked this question at a dinner party one time. There was a group of us and we traveled together from time to time. And I asked this question. And it was amazing because after that dinner party at this restaurant, one of the guys came up to me and one of my friends came up to me and said, that's one of the most powerful conversations I've ever had in my life. Right. And listening to everybody's response. Ask your children. Rob, a number of years ago, had a bunch of his friends up to the cottage here, and we were sitting around the campfire, and they're all just graduating from university, and some of them are going into master's programs and so on. And I asked that question, and the conversation, immediately changed from just sort of chit chat to all of a sudden a meaningful conversation, and people were interested in other people's answers, and people were really thoughtful about their answers. It's just an amazing conversation starter. I like to say, ask your parents. I'd ask my parents, but they won't answer back. But it's a great question to ask your parents, right? Because you're going to get an idea on what they want to do and what makes them, what makes them, and how you can help them have 3 great years. Right? Like, it's just an awesome question you can ask all the time. So again, if we were meeting here 3 years from today, and it doesn't have to do with benefits necessarily, it has to do with future. If we were meeting here 3 years from today, what has to have happened for you to say it's been the best 3 years of your life? I like to say, ask the question and shut up. The answers are going to absolutely amaze you, right? Your client or your prospect or your friends or your family or your parents, whoever, they're going to tell you exactly what it is that they want to achieve. And it's going to come from here. It's not going to come from what they think you want the answer to be. It's going to come from their heart. They're going to tell you exactly what it is that they want to achieve. And they're going to tell you things like, from a business perspective, whether they want to grow, whether they want to shrink, whether they want to merge, whether they want to expand into new markets. The answer to the question is going to give you a clear roadmap of where they're going. Now you can help the client get there. That's your role as an advisor, is to help the client achieve their goals, when you think about it in the simplest form. But you got to know where they're going. The old roadmap, we all have, or not all of us, but many of us have GPSs in our cars. Well, it's the same thing. How do I get from here to there? Well, here's a couple of different options. You can include toll roads, you can include back roads, you can include highways, etc. Right? But I love to ask this question frequently amongst my clients and advisors and so on, because it tells you where they're going to go. I remember asking this question one time, and the client said, hopefully in 18 months, or definitely within 18 months, we want to have this company sold and we want to be out of it. So their time horizon, their window was very short. They just wanted a quick down and dirty benefit plan so they could check it off the list, right? But their interest was not long term. Their interest was to sell the business, right? Terrific. Wasn't a solution for us. We were looking for long-term clients. We respectfully said, thank you very much, and we can't help you, and we left. There was another situation where the client, we asked this question, the client said very clearly, he said, we are just doing this benefit plan, or we want the cheapest benefit plan that we can find because our goal is to keep the union out, right? In 3 years, we just want to have the same number of employees that we've got. We want to continue to produce the pool noodles that we produce, and we don't want to have a union in here. We don't care about the employees. We can get new employees, and it became very clear in this discussion, right? So it's going to tell you an awful lot. This question, the answers to this question is going to tell you an awful lot. And sometimes they just don't want to answer. They go, listen, I don't want to get into this. Here's my renewal. Get me a cheaper solution. I like to say, if they don't want to engage in conversation about their future, and you don't know where they're going and how you can help them, right? There's 439,999 other prospects. I like to say next. It's as simple as that. Question number 2. I don't care if you've got 3 employees or if you've got 10 employees or you got 20 employees, or sorry, if you or your prospect have 3 employees, 10 employees, etc. What are the groups within the group? What are the groups within the group? Every company, no matter how big or how small they have, has different groups within the group. Owners are treated different than executives that are treated different than long-serving employees. Long-serving employees, especially dealing with smaller employers, some of those people are absolutely key to the organization. Oh my gosh, Mary's been with us or Kenny's been with us for 30 years. It's important that we take care of them, right? There might be professional or licensed employees that are different from the folks that are sweeping the floor, right? There might be administration folks. There might be manufacturing. It depends on the business. Salespeople are their own breed. We all know that. We just had a staff party, team party a couple of weeks ago, and there's the salespeople, and then there's everybody else, and it was kind of fun, but everybody's a different breed. So every company has different groups within the group, but when you ask this question, Mr. Prospect, Madam Employer, what are the different groups within your group?
Yeah.
Ask that question, and
Okay.
David, there we go. Thank you very much. You ask that question, and all of a sudden, you're going to get a discussion going. And the question that I often have is, they go, "What are you talking about?" And when we're talking about benefits, does the newest customer service representative at the Royal Bank have the same benefits as the president? And they go, "I doubt it." And you go, "Great. So why do you have to offer the same benefit plan to your newest employee when Ken has been here for 30 years? What this does is it frees up the thinking of the client and prospect. Sometimes they may never have even thought about that, but it frees up their thinking and frees up what they want to promise and why. All right. Chances are your client or your prospect has never been asked this question. There's 440,000 businesses out there. Chances are they've never been asked this question. I've asked this question dozens or hundreds of times. And it's amazing to watch people's reaction when you get them thinking about it. But what it really does is it frees up their thinking that a benefit plan is a promise between an employer and an employee. Yeah. And the promise doesn't necessarily have to be the same. And it frees up thinking for the employer or plan sponsor. It frees up their thinking. Question number 3. What's your compensation philosophy? And again, we're dealing with 10 live cases and 20 live cases and 30 live cases. The Royal Bank has a very specific compensation philosophy, and I'm picking on them because they're just top of mind for whatever reason right now. I don't even deal with them anymore, but they've got different classifications and so on. It's very formal. But every company has a compensation philosophy. I don't care if you've got 10 employees or you got 20 employees or you got 5 employees. You've got a compensation philosophy. And it may be formal or it may just be understood. It may just, the owner might have it in his or her head what the compensation philosophy is. They want to be a top payer. We want to, what's really important to us, because we think it's important, is to have the best work-life balance. We know companies that don't have that, and we want to have that. And we want to keep a union out. We want to negotiate with the union. I was talking to an advisor yesterday about a client, and they want to, they want to bring a union into their business. It's a different way of thinking, but they want to bring a union into their business so they have a clear set of rules, right? And they just want to be competitive. Well, competitive with who? Do you want to be competitive with Ontario Hydro? Do you want to be competitive with the, a hospital? Who is it that you want to be competitive with, right? So when you talk about compensation philosophy, even if it's not formal, even if it's not written down, it just might be in the business owner's head, and it's often understood as opposed to just written down, and it says a great deal. It says a great deal about what their company is and what their company's about. And does your benefit plan match your compensation philosophy? All of a sudden they're thinking about it. And they go, I've run into people that say they want to be the top payer in the world, right? They want to be the top payer, but they don't necessarily have the best benefit plan. So why is that out of sync? Benefits are just part of compensation. But sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes this could be very surprising to your clients or prospects. We've dealt with some social agencies in the past, for example, and they say, we're not the top payer, but we want to provide the top benefits. And we've got other clients that say, we want to be the top payer, for example, but yes, our benefit plan philosophy doesn't necessarily match that, because we think that we just want to pay them money and then let the employees choose how they spend their money. So we just want to provide a very basic plan, right? But it doesn't matter. It's about asking the question. The answer doesn't matter. It's about asking the question and creating this awareness. But sometimes this may be very surprising to your clients and prospects, because they haven't thought about it in this relationship. And often they want their benefit plan to match their compensation philosophy. Benchmarking reports help your clients and prospect, make informed decisions. I received an email from Hub the other day, and it was one of their blanket emails about, I can't even remember the subject, but one of the things that I was looking through as I was reading this email very quickly, they had a button that you could click on. It says Hub benchmarking in 60 seconds. Hub could benchmark your benefit plan in 60 seconds. How they do it, I don't know. I didn't click on it, but it's amazing. Everybody wants to see where they are in relation to their competition. I don't care what you're selling or what you're comparing, but they want to see, where they are in relationship to other people in respective businesses. It's just like you hire somebody. You hire someone and what you think you want to pay them, but they might have a different opinion, and you got to be able to defend that. You've got to be able to say, hey, this is what this job pays, and these are the reasons why. So benchmarking is important. So this all leads from conversations about compensation philosophy. One of my favorites, you're dealing with a business owner. It might be obvious, but obvious questions are great to ask. But here's a great question. Do you hate paying taxes? I've never had anybody say, no, I love paying taxes, right? I've never had anybody say that, but do you hate paying taxes? And they say, yes, absolutely, I hate paying taxes. Fantastic. An employee benefit plan are the most tax-effective way to pay for, personal, family, health, and dental related expenses. Simple as that. They are tax-deductible expenses to your business, and you receive the benefit tax-free. This is a winning combination. We all know that. But have we talked to clients from this perspective, that benefit plans are the most tax-effective way to pay for things that you're going to pay for anyway? A creative plan design can help maximize this for employees and business owners. They may not have the client may want to spend more money on benefits than they do in actual pay, because they realize this, and this is a tax-effective way. If they have a relatively small group, this is easy to communicate. And as well as that, you can easily set up plan designs for specific people groups within the group that can maximize this. For example, you've got a vice president, and you know the vice president, and you've only got one vice president, and you know that vice president who you've just hired or you've had for a couple of years, that vice president might need orthodontia in their benefit plan for whatever reason. Well, obviously for the reason because their kids need orthodontics, right? That's the reason. But they may need that. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, do you know what? Why don't we add orthodontics to this particular all vice president's benefit plans, right? And we're gonna and maybe that's how we're going to compensate this individual for the next couple of years. It's a tax effective way to pay for things that they're going to pay for anyways. It's as simple as that. From a business owner's perspective, one of the things that we recommend, one of the things we recommend is 100% executive plan. No set limits. Owner executive is not, is not going to be told how to spend the money, right? There's no set limits. There's no co-insurance. There's no maximums. The example I use all the time is I wear glasses. I wear glasses every time I use my computer. I don't wear them when I'm golfing. I don't wear them when I'm driving. I don't wear them when I'm, doing whatever it is that I'm doing. It's as simple as that. I just wear them when I'm using the computer. But when I got this new prescription, I ordered 3 pair of the glasses because I want a pair for my office, a pair for my home office, and a pair for my briefcase. So I never have to remember to bring them with me or leave them somewhere. Same with medical appliances, because I'm fat and I have a CPAP machine. Well, I have a CPAP machine in my home here, and I have a CPAP machine in my secondary home because I don't want to carry it back and forth because I'm lazy, right? Medcan expenses, whether you use Medcan or Cleveland Clinic. Private rehabilitation is a huge one. Somebody is going to need some help with some substance abuse or whatever it is, and you have to wait for OHIP. No, the key owner is not going to be doing that. They're going to be getting their spouse or child into that private rehabilitation as soon as possible. And that might be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month. So fantastic. And it might take 2 or 3 times to get them, get the monkey off their respective backs. Specialized education tuition. You've got a client who's got a child with special needs, and they're going to a school that specializes in teaching children in a way that helps them with their helps them learn differently because of their diagnosis. Great. That tuition and the expenses around that tuition can be a tax deductible expense through your benefit plan. Vet services for a seeing eye dog, etc. So all of these things, the owner and executive is going to do it anyway, and you might as well do it through the benefit plan because it's a tax effective way. We've got a number of plans that we work with where they've got, the owners or the owner's family, like the total owner unit, is spending the same amount as the whole company together, right? So it's amazing. And this is better than an HSA or Cost Plus. A healthcare spending account has a limit. Great. The owner thinks he's going to spend $10,000. What if he spends 30? Well, then there's a $20,000 gap. Or Cost Plus. Cost Plus is cumbersome. You got to touch the paper 3 or 4 or 5 times. Cost Plus is cumbersome. I don't issue payments in my office. I approve payments, but I don't issue them. So in order for me to put a Cost Plus claim through for 3 pairs of glasses for $1,800, for example, I would have to submit it to the benefit plan, get an explanation of benefits back. Then I would have to fill out a form from the insurance company that says Cost Plus, here's the $1,800 expense, here's the EOB. And then I would have to take that form, and then I would also have to fill out I call them check requisitions, but a payment requisition. I'd have to give it to our accounts payable person. That accounts payable person is going to look at it, look at the backup, saying, hey, look at Rob. He's getting 3 pairs of glasses for $1,800. And she would have to put it in the computer in the right place, etc. And then issue the check to the insurance company. And then the insurance company reimburse me. It's cumbersome. Touch it once, submit the claim, $1,800, get the money back. Confidential. Right? So that 100% executive plan, when you ask the question, do you want better benefits than anyone else? No. Do you hate paying taxes? That's the point of the question. Do you hate paying taxes? Number 5, what are the similarities and differences with your employees? Simple question. You're sitting in the owner's office, or you're sitting in a coffee shop or a bar talking to this owner, but what are the similarities and differences with your employees? Are they all young? Are they all old? Are they young and old? Right? Do they have advanced degrees in education? Do some of them do, hey, we've got one PhD and someone who didn't graduate high school. doing different jobs. What are the similarities and differences? We hire people that are all of a particular ethnic background because they love to do the job that we have. Fantastic. Or we've got some people with a language barrier, right? Or we've got some people that are different in different ways for different reasons. But they have this one size fits all plan because there's 10 people in the organization, or 5 people in the organization, or 25 people in the organization. So you got someone with advanced degrees working along somebody with not advanced degrees and are easily replaceable, and then some language barriers, but you've got this one size fits all plan that the employer is spending, $3,000 or $4,000 a person on, and it may not necessarily fit. So when you ask questions like that, what are the similarities and differences, with your employees? Another great question to add. So I got 5A in here, right? How do you communicate with your employee group? And it's really interesting because every employer communicates differently. This is going to shed some light on how you want to communicate with them. Oh, we just send out emails. They're used to our email blasts, right? Or yeah, because our employee group is so different, or it's different in this way, or it's unique in this fashion, we like to do visual presentations. And we like to do formal visual presentations, or we don't like to do formal visual presentations. We just want you to kind of get up there and draw some pictures, right? Which I've done very effectively over the years. No, we're very interested in Bay Street. We want a Bay Street look. We want you to show up in a tie. We want you to make a formal presentation. I was in a client meeting last week, a couple weeks ago, just before the long weekend, and went into this meeting with the advisor. He goes, "Do not bring Bay Street into this. Bring small town into this, quote unquote." Right? If you wear a tie, you will be kicked out of the room. Right? So it really depends on how you want to communicate, whether it's technical or whether they just want a quick paper version. They communicate once a month or once every quarter through a newsletter. They love lunch and learns. They hate lunch and learns. It's about how do you communicate with your employees, and why is that? These are great questions, but what are the similarities and differences with your particular employees? Right? It's important to ask that type of question, because the client is going to tell you these things, and it's going to tell you these things because they want the most effective benefit plan they can have. And in order to do that, the client and the members really need to understand that. So that's important. So we've done 5 questions right now. Before we go on to 6 through 10, does anybody have any questions, any thoughts, any ideas? I see the chat box is sort of bumping along there, but I can't see that. But does anybody have any thoughts, ideas? Anybody want to share anything? You think I'm crazy? You think I'm nuts?
Drew actually, excuse me. Drew had a question about what are your thoughts on the quality of various benchmarking reports? And that might start some good discussion.
Great question, Drew. Thank you very much for asking. The answer to the question, in my opinion, is it's better than nothing, right? It's certainly better than nothing. I haven't done benchmarking reports in some time because our role has changed because we're working with advisors. But when I was an advisor, we used to subscribe to the Board of Trade of Metropolitan Toronto study on benefits, and you could easily gather that information. I'm not sure where you can get that information now. I know you can get it from most insurance suppliers, like large insurance carriers. We certainly have helped people with it in very specific areas, but you know what? It answers an employer's question. My attitude is it answers an employer's question. Like the majority of people, and more than 50% of the people have a contributory plan, or it depends on how minute the detail they want. Often they just want to make sure that they're competitive in their benefit offering, right? So it's about being able to answer that question for them, right? It doesn't have to be that scientific, but a benchmarking report. I've seen benchmarking reports that are 40 pages, and I've seen benchmarking reports that are 4 paragraphs, right? So it's depending on what the client wants. I'm not suggesting a 25-person case needs to have a 40-page benchmarking report. Depends what information they're looking for. But these questions often, lead to discussions, and you can find the specific answers to those specific questions that they're looking for. Any other thoughts, ideas, questions? All right, we'll move on.
Yeah, I guess it was somewhat of a rhetorical question. in that, and I happen to totally agree with you that it's better than nothing, because that's about as much as I'd give many of those benchmarking reports, and only because just historically, we had one, for example, we've had benchmarking reports that we've done for clients for years, and we just actually had a couple done. I don't know if you ever heard of Cloud.
Yeah.
And they, they charge an arm and a leg for their services. But at the end of the day, the information that you get is really based on kind of what's out there versus what should be out there.
Yep.
Because as you know better than most, that if you ask the question of how a plan sponsor arrived at their benefit plan design, 98% of the time it's one of two answers, really. I'd be interested if you think otherwise. And the one answer is, well, that's kind of what's always been here, and that was what was here when I arrived, which isn't exactly a strategy last time I checked. And then the other answer is, well, it's mostly what was here when I arrived, but I brought over a couple of things from my former place of employment. So when your benchmarking is based on that, it's based on nothing related to a strategy and more just related on what was there when somebody arrived. So I guess like one of the reports I had recently, and then I'll shut up, was, because I sent the plan design the whole bit so they could benchmark it. They come back and they said, well, your plan, is in this quartile, good plan and everything else, but you could improve it by shifting to 100% drugs, unlimited, adding ortho and this, that. And I go, yeah, what are you smoking? And you want me to go back to my client and say, hey, your plan fits in such and such a quartile, but hey, let's add to your costs and put in no risk mitigation factors anyway, I'll shut up, but you know what I'm getting at.
But it's interesting you say that, because these next couple of questions help develop strategy, right? They help, and I think you made a good point, Drew. You help develop strategy. So Mr. Client, Mr. Prospect, think back, why did you gain your most recent client? You're putting it on them. Why did you gain your most recent client? And the answer is going to tell you a lot. And it's going to tell you what they value. It's going to tell you creativity. It's going to tell you something about the pricing philosophy and where they fit in that range, and where they add value. And it doesn't matter the shelf life of the product. It could be bread, or it could be specialized manufacturing, or something in between, right? But when you ask this question, you think back, why did you gain your most recent client? Right? It's going to tell you all sorts of things, right? It's going to tell you, why they think they're the best, right? Why are you the best? Why are you the fastest, depending on their answer? Why are you the cheapest, depending on their answer? Why do you have the best warranty? And again, this just leads to all these discussions, and it tells you about who they are. And these answers to these questions help you design, back to your point, Drew, help you design a benefit plan that works best for them, right? It's got to often reflect them. And these types of things are important. And again, I've got a client, or I had a client, pardon me, they're no longer in business, but they made machines that you put a log in one end, and out came 8.5 by 11 line paper with 3 holes on the other side, in packages of 100 or 500 sheets. But they would have a sale once every 2 years. And then they would manufacture this machine, but they were the best in the world at doing it. And this company was in Owen Sound, Ontario, and they sold these products all around the world, but they would have a sale once every 2 years. Versus somebody that sells bread, for example. I was using that example. There's an artisan bakery, right? Why are the clients walking in the door? Is it convenience? Is it the smell? Is it, the artwork on the outside, the kitschy phrases, whatever it is? But it tells you an awful lot about who they are, and about why they are so different, why they are unique. Because every business is unique, especially every small business. They're unique. Can you tell the difference between the TD Bank and the Bank of Montreal and the Royal Bank? It's difficult, okay? But can you tell the difference between, one advisory service, benefit advisory service versus another? Absolutely. So why are you so different? And these answers are going to help you design a benefit plan that works extraordinarily well for them. And, you know, back to Drew's point, and I think Drew brought up an excellent point. It's about developing a strategy that makes sense. Yeah, we want to be different because our employees are different, because, you know, we provide the best warranty, and client service is paramount in our business. So we want to make sure they're here for the long run. Fantastic. So they have a relationship with their clients. Fantastic. Great. So we have to design a strategy that attracts and retains people. So we have a benefit plan that retains people. So there's a strategy, you know, so it's looking like that. One of my favorite questions, and so many advisors that I talk to never have asked this question. It's a simple question. What's the hurt? What's the hurt? This clarifies the client's prospect and thinking. The reason why you're there, if it's a prospect, the reason why you're in the room is they have a hurt. But we forget to ask the question. What is the hurt? Hurts can be big, they can be small. You know, what's the old expression? I've got a burr underneath my saddle, right? It's a little tiny burr. It's underneath the saddle. It irritates the horse. The horse doesn't perform, right? It can be a big hurt, or it can be a very small hurt, but that small hurt can be big enough to make a difference. It's not often, more often than not, the hurt is not about the cost. The hurt is not about the cost of a benefit plan. But let's ask the question, what's the hurt? You know, specific items not covered under the plan. We had a client, still have the client, 40, 50 life case, somewhere in there, nice case. When OHIP delisted eye exams, this particular guy's daughter was at university, and they put in the benefit plan that they would cover eye exams up to $175 or $150, whatever the maximum was at that insurance company at that time. And their insurance agent advisor said, don't worry, it'll be covered because nobody will charge more than $150. Their daughter was at university, comes home for Easter, just about to start writing exams, comes home for Easter and says, Dad, I was getting headaches and I went to the eye doctor and I had an eye doctor exam and I submitted the claim and it wasn't covered. And he goes, what do you mean it wasn't covered? He goes, I don't know. It was a kind of a quick appointment and it was like $225 and I only got, 175 of it or 150 of it covered. So I had to pay $100 out of my pocket. Well, this dad went nuts. This dad went crazy. He said, you promised me that this was going to be covered. Now it's not covered. This is a little tiny number in the grand scheme of things. But guess what? The whole plan changed because he wanted an unlimited amount and the insurance companies in that case couldn't do it. They don't understand the renewals. I've seen a 45-page renewal report for a 12 life case. Okay, are we talking overkill? For this particular client, he was glazing over. Paying for services or benefits that they don't want. Yeah, sorry, it's a package. You got to pay for this, but I don't want it. You got to pay for it. What's the hurt? Service issues. What's the hurt? They're not getting back to me. I'm talking to someone different every time on the phone. But got to tell you, when you ask the question, someone else's hurt is your golden ticket. It is your golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, right? It's as simple as that. It's your golden ticket. If you know someone's golden ticket, if you know someone's hurt, you've got that golden ticket and you can solve that problem, and I love asking the question. Okay, so I understand that, covering eye exams at 100% without any co-insurances, maximum deductibles is your hurt. Yeah, if we can prove to you that we can cover them at 100%, there won't be any more hiccups. Can we move forward with this? It's called a one-meeting sale. If you find out what their hurt is and you tell them how you can solve that problem, how you can solve that hurt, you've got that golden ticket and you ask them the question, can we move forward? They can't say no. They can't say no. Another great question. What
Hold on,
differentiates?
Gord, I'm gonna play,
Okay, that was Edward talking to somebody else. Okay. What differentiates you from your top 3 competitors?
no, I was talking to you, sir. Sorry about
Oh,
that.
sorry, you were saying Gord.
I don't know why I said Gord. Paying for benefits that they don't want. That's the one that when you have a wide demographic between, say, millennials and an older demographic, right? How do you find that? what do you, I know a healthcare spending account is one, but I've been getting questions more about flex plans, so.
Yeah. Well, when I'm talking about paying for benefits they don't want, I'm talking about the plan sponsor. Like the
Mhm.
plan sponsor has to have this benefit, like, and how the benefits trust started really quickly, because I've got a limited amount of time, but how the benefits trust started is we started because a prospect didn't want drug coverage. They wanted all the other health benefits, but they didn't want drug coverage.
Hmm.
Oh, sorry, it's a package plan. The reason why they didn't want drug coverage is because they were pharmacists, right? Sorry, you got to have drugs with your benefit plan, or they don't want to have necessarily, one particular thing. Flex plans Edward, is a whole other issue, without a doubt, and we're having more discussions about that. But that's a whole other Zoomcast.
Sounds good.
All right. What differentiates you from your top three competitors, and why? What differentiates you from your top three competitors? It gets the client thinking about their business, but what makes them unique, what makes them stand out, why they add value. Answers will tell you how to shape their benefits plan to attract and attract employees from their competitors and retain employees from leaving for your competitors, right? When the client can clearly identify what makes them different, and you have a benefit plan that marries that philosophy, it's amazing the results that you can get from that. It's just amazing. But the answers, what differentiates you from your top competitors, the answers are going to give you important competitive industries, important in competitive, the answers are going to be really important, especially in competitive industries for top talent. Things like nursing and medical. It's interesting because we've got a friend of ours that she's a nurse, but she works in a oral surgeon's office. She's constantly being pulled in different directions by various hospitals, right? But she is a nurse in a dentist's office, an RN, because they do surgery there, right? But they've had to create a benefit plan for her to keep her there so she doesn't go to the hospitals. It's got to be more competitive than what the hospitals are offering. Same with licensed employees. I look at companies like HVAC companies. I always refer back to HVAC companies because they fascinate me for some reason. But a 20-person HVAC company might have 18 licensed people. Okay, well, fantastic. Those licensed people are hard to come by. You got to keep them. You got to attract them. You got to keep them. So what makes this particular company unique? And they've got all these licensed people. Well, the benefit plan has got to be creative enough to keep those people and attract those people. Teachers, private school versus public school. If you've ever dealt with private schools before, it's amazing. Often in private schools, teachers have 1-year contracts. We know in public schools, you can't fire teachers, right? But in private schools, you can certainly fire teachers because they have 1-year renewable, they have 1-year contracts, and their contracts are renewed every single year. But their benefit plan must match that of the public school system or exceed that of the public school system in different ways, because often you can't match it. Okay, same with construction and skilled workers. Executives. You're hiring an executive from the Bank of Montreal, for example, and he's going from a 65,000 person company to a 20-person company that this particular individual, she or he, is going to run. Okay, well, you've got to design a benefit plan that's going to attract that person and retain that person. All right. The benefit plan should mirror the uniqueness of the company. Benefit plan should mirror that uniqueness of a company. Do you know how many, restaurants go through chefs because they don't have benefits because they're a restaurant? And do you know how many restaurants have great chefs because they have a benefit plan? It's amazing. It's amazing the difference. It's just a little check mark on a box, but it keeps people around. This is a great question as well. What challenges is your company facing today? Before, it used to be staff retention. The reason why I love asking this question, because you only see your clients maybe once a year, right? Maybe twice a year. But things can happen very quickly, especially in small businesses, and cycles happen very quickly, especially in small businesses. I've got market slowdown as the 5th or 6th point down there. We're starting to see market slowdown. Yeah, if you're dealing with real estate agents, they've seen a huge slowdown, especially if you're dealing with real estate agents in downtown Toronto that are trying to sell 400 square foot condos and 20,000 units are coming on the market next year, right? It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing what's going to happen out there. So staff retention, what's challenges your company facing right now? Staff retention, remote work productivity. It's a big thing that we hear all the time. HR challenges because of this remote work, right? Staff housing. Again, we're not maybe talking about this in downtown Toronto per se, but in other parts of Canada, especially with other parts of Canada and other parts of Ontario, staff housing becomes a big thing, becomes really important. More new competition coming into the marketplace. You know, who competes with Holiday Inn? What's Holiday Inn's biggest competitor? It's not the Marriott, it's Airbnb, right? That's something that's relatively new. Yeah, market slowdown. You know, you might have the greatest client in the world, and all of a sudden they're just facing, you know, a market slowdown, and you've got to react differently with their benefit plan. You know, the answers are going to give you the questions, or the answer to this question is going to give you the immediate insight on what's on their mind right now, right? And that might change. You know, it might change because they've had staff leave, or it might change because, you know, their anything, but businesses cycles, you know, change over time. So it's important to ask this question just about in every single meeting you're having with your clients is, what are your challenges today? Right? Creates opportunity to add value. You can introduce them to problem solvers. You can introduce them to other clients. You can introduce them to other prospects. You know, it's amazing. You think about it. Oh my gosh, I didn't get this client, but this client might be a perfect solution or this prospect might be a perfect solution for this client. All of a sudden you introduce the two of them, that prospect might think a little differently about you, right? Know their temperature, know whether it's time to pounce or back off, right? Some of the best value you can add is letting them know that all is good during a very busy time, right? It's interesting. We had a good client of ours. You know, we work with this particular advisor on this case, and they had a new general manager start right before their busiest season. Right before their busiest season. We set up a 5-minute call with the new general manager. The advisor introduced himself, and we introduced ourselves as their TPA and their administrator for their benefit plan. And we said, we know you're brand new. We know this is your busiest time. We want you to know that everything is under control. Everything is running very smoothly. This plan has been in place for a while. I think we should get together in April or May, but this is not something that needs to be on your agenda today. And the new general manager said, thank you very much. We'll talk in May. But it was just that assurance, because this was one of the things that was on his mind. He didn't need to worry about this today. He worried about it tomorrow, right? So what are the challenges that your company is facing today is a great question. They may need an immediate solution so you can pounce, or they may not need an immediate solution so you can back off, but you know exactly what their challenges are, and you can know how to support them. All right, the last question, and this is one of my favorites, and this is an awesome question to ask a prospect. And where I got this question from is a gentleman by the name of Mark Dadabo. He's a guy that runs an insurance company in Detroit, Michigan. It's a gentleman I met many years ago, and we've kept in touch and we've talked over the years. And he sells trucking insurance to trucking companies. That's what he does. He sells trucking insurance to trucking companies. Very successful company. He's the president of this company, and we were talking, and models very similar to ours, where you know, we sell through advisors. And one of his advisors, the largest trucking insurance salesperson in Tennessee, the state of Tennessee, is a 105-pound, beautiful young lady that dresses to the nines and walks into trucking companies and is tough as nails. She's tough as nails. She's working in a quote unquote man's world, looking like $1 million and as tough as nails. And then always in the first interview with these trucking companies, she asks this one question: if I can show you something of measurable or material value, are you willing and are prepared and willing to fire your existing advisor? Has anybody ever asked that question? Right? It's a fascinating question to ask. If I could show you something of measurable material value, are you prepared and willing to fire your existing advisor? How much time have we wasted over the years? Oh my God, I've been doing this for 35 years. How much time have I wasted? I got this great prospect. You get down to the final strokes and they say, yeah, you know what? My daughter-in-law is my advisor and I can't fire her. Ugh. Time wasted. Oh my gosh. You asked this question in the first interview. Be as bold as to ask this question. You know, if I could show you something of measurable material value, are you willing to, are you willing and prepared to fire your advisor? Ask the question earlier in the discussion, look them directly in the eyes, watch their body language. And if the answer is no, say, thank you very much. Have a great day. Right. But look them directly in the eye and watch their body language, because it's like, yeah, I'm kind of, yeah, I think I could probably fire that person. No. Are you prepared? Right. And it's amazing, because if the answer is yes, then quantify, the measurable and or material value. Quantify that. Get them to agree to it. Right. If I can show you how we can pay your claims at 100%, if I can solve this service issue for whatever it is, if I can save you the 15% you're looking for, okay, show them the measurable material value. Get them to quantify it and get them to agree to it. Send it to them in an email. You told me in our meeting on July the 3rd that if we can make the letterhead blue, you would be prepared to proceed. That's what you said. We are working hard to make the letterhead blue. We will get back to you with our findings. All of a sudden, you're back in the meeting. You're saying, hey, great. In our meeting on July the 3rd, you said if we can make the letterhead blue. Yep. Guess what? We got it. We got the blue solution here. We are recommending Blue Cross because they got the blue letterhead, and this is the reason why, right? Watch your closing ratio increase. Most people are people of their word. Most people are people of their word. If you can quantify what is measurable or what is material in that client's eyes and ask them this question, right, you're going to watch your closing ratio increase. It's a powerful, powerful, powerful question that a lot of people don't ask. And trust me, this is coming from experience. The more time, the amount of time that I've wasted over the years, I would still have hair, right? It's as simple as that. I'd still have hair, right? So in summary, because we only have a few moments left, and we're going to stick around for a few moments afterwards as well. So great. But the internet and artificial intelligence has all the answers. They just don't have the questions. Be curious. Be curious. Don't assume anything ever. Just because somebody you think is doing something one way, they may be doing it completely a different way. Don't ever assume anything. Ask questions in easy to understand language, not insurance language. All the questions that we shared with you today were in easy to understand language. Speaking of questions, I encourage you to go to the Benefits Trust, www.thebenefitstrust.com. Go to the Advisor Resource Center. You're going to get to this page. Go to Education Materials. Explore this page. It's easy. Just go to Benefits Trust, Advisor Resource, Education Materials. Second one down, 101 great sales questions every benefit advisor should know. Download
Great.
that, print it off. It's awesome. An advisor shared what he does with that is he's printed that off and he keeps it in his glove compartment of his car. And he always gets to meetings early, and he always reviews that before he walks into a meeting. Just reads the questions. These questions, by the way, came from you. This is something we did some time ago. So check it out. We've got some upcoming Zoomcasts September through December. They're going to be on our website very soon. Check it out. As well as that, any questions, ideas, discussions, we're going to certainly stick around. So we want to thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. So I want to thank you all very much for participating today. Our session is going to end right now. So if you want to take off, you can. We're going to stick around for a few more minutes and answer any specific questions and so on. But on behalf of all of us at the Benefits Trust, we want to take this time to thank you very much for visiting with us. We hope it was of value. We hope you're in a room where everybody got smarter as opposed to, just hanging out. You're going to get a CE credit for participating. You're going to get a copy of our newsletter or signed up for our newsletter. It comes out every single month, 130 some odd months in a row. And as well as that, you're going to get a real short survey. Tell us how we did today. Tell us how we can do it better tomorrow. Give us ideas on what you'd like to see covered in future events. So again, thank you very much. Summer is the best time to sell, folks. Summer is the best time to sell, in my opinion. And if you're frustrated, it's because you don't have enough meetings. If you're in a batting slump, it's because you don't have enough time at the plate. Get back up and get meetings. Thank you all very much. Rob, we can stop